a short break, and we're jumping right back into things. I'm sure both of these teams chomping at the bit. Tanner and Sam, Dignitas, OWA. And I have to say, I am pleasantly surprised. Obviously, we know, we keep saying Cloud9, 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 and we know what it's like now from outside looking in when teams play against that team. It's quite daunting. But I'm really happy to see Dignitas. They completely washed that one away. They come back so strong on Ascent, and they grab a 13-7 win over OWA.
Now, OWA had some shining moments there, particularly those pistol rounds, where they managed to get quite a lot of value. And of course, the pistol rounds make up 4 of the 6 rounds that they managed to win. So there were 2 rounds outside of pistol where they were able to make some magic happen. But as we noticed, that's not enough to close out a series. So we're going to be heading on over to our second map, and it is going to be Haven. Now, what doesn't bode well here, and again, this comes down to like lack of play time, but OWA have only played Haven once, and the one time that they played it, they lost it. So when I tell you they have a 0% win rate, don't freak out too much. It's just because they've only played it that one time. That being said, they have a 62% win rate on the offense. So a fairly solid offensive side on Haven. If I take a look at Dignitas stats here, they're on a 75% win rate, and their attacking side is at 76%. So this is going to be a good map for Dignitas. And we saw that as well on the previous matchup as well, because that was the best scoreline that they had versus C9 in that 2-map series. So clearly Haven is a far more comfortable map for them, which is a little daunting, I think, for OWA. But I see it as a bit of a challenge. This is an opportunity for them to rally themselves and kind of go, well, we know they're going to perform well on that map. We just have to show them that we're better.
And I think what really showed for Dignitas here is I guess I want to say the security, but it's not really the word I'm looking for. But you saw in all those replays, it was very rarely coming down to the 1v1s, the 1v2s. And we did have those moments, but the rounds that Dignitas did win. In this one, we had so many more flawless rounds in this series than we did against the C9 Dignitas series, which is not something that you would expect, seeing as how that one went. But this one was a lot more decisive, and again, it just kind of bodes well in Dignitas' favor that they're able. Now, we talked about the 0% win rate for OWA. When you take a look at that game, it was the 14-12 overtime barn burner against CLG Red. So yes, it was a loss. They did, I believe they were ahead. This was the map that they were 8-4 up. They end up losing 14-12. So they are proficient on the map, although that one scoreline doesn't show. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Dignitas are out of the woodworks just yet. So we could quite possibly have ourselves an overtime on our hands.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? And then, of course, if OWA edge it out towards the end, then that means that we move over to a map 3 as well. So really, this series is just getting started, and we can do a lot of speculation. So I'm gonna take it to the things that I know, which is the stats and the things that I've written down. And so, compositionally, well, we're gonna be seeing the exact same thing that we saw on Ascent. For OWA, they continue running that breach, which again is very, very potent, particularly because there's a lot of corners that you can abuse on Haven. We don't actually see the breach getting played super often on Haven, though. Usually we see that swapped out for something like the Phoenix when you're going in that double duelist strat, for example. So the flashes, you often see that coming with a different agent that has other utility that breach doesn't have. But I mean, we saw how the Rolling Thunder clutched out one of those rounds for OWA previously. So if they can keep utilizing that utility, not just the ultimate, because you're not going to have that every round, but if you're finding ways to use the utility to kind of bait out the enemy team, maybe catch them off guard, catch them unawares, and then swing out on that, then that's how you start to win more rounds. For Dignitas, no changes there either. Omen, Jet, Reyna, Sova, and Cypher. I like the double, I said the word like 2 seconds ago, duelist, the double duelist setup. There's so much power there that you can use with that. And then, of course, you have the backup of the Sova and the Cypher. Again, we said how important it is to have that double information gathering composition to be able to use the Sova and the Cypher on 2 separate sites so that you're able to get more information out of that. It's really, really potent. If Stephanie went with that Sky, I would love it. It's not in my notes. It's usually the breach, but I would have loved to have seen it because we haven't seen enough Sky. But it is what it is. It's just Got my hopes up for nothing, girls.
Yeah, they were really tugging on the heartstrings. They were all kind of bouncing around between different agents that they were thinking they wanted to play. I thought maybe between the two initiators, Carly would want to hop on the breach and give Stephanie fair reign to play maybe that Sky or that Sova. But now it's backs against the wall for OWA. This is an elimination match. Dignitas are up 1-0, so they have to come out swinging in this one. There's 3 sites, so on the attacking side, you've got a whole lot of options, and we'll see what OWA, or if OWA can get it done here on Haven. Now, bouncing back to watching what Dignitas was doing against Cloud9, that was starting to work, was that retake, right? It's, again, we kind of see it. Aggression over towards B to see what happens out towards mid. They leave their Cypher in Thea over towards A, and they were A-okay to play retake there for the 3 rounds that they won on defense. So I wonder if we see that same play style here.
Very likely. We're going to be starting things off with OWA, checking things out up in that astral form, seeing where they want to drop those stars before they start moving in. I like that they're starting with a push towards mid at the moment because, of course, once you get control, you can start to move out from there. And immediately a nice little pick off onto Rain gives them a bit of an opportunity.
And Rain just barely missing on that paranoia, swings out into an unblind OWA. So that stings just a bit, but we're 1 for 1 across the board. Low HP on Madison and no HP here on Hannah. So Dignitas looking to regain control of this pistol round as OWA creep up towards this B site. Nothing is free at this point as that fault line tries to clear thing out over towards C-Link. Milky Way, though, holding it down inside this A-Link. Classic in hand, has a cloud burst to work with should she want to try and block some vision or reposition herself. A lot of time still on the clock, so OWA don't necessarily have to commit, but they're down in numbers, and now it just gets a whole lot harder. Emily picking up a huge kill. That recon bolt can be tossed out, but with 2 standing, OWA don't have a whole lot of options.
At least they are going to be moving together, which is imperative. We've mentioned that a couple times throughout this broadcast as they're moving towards Seaside, which for the moment is somewhat free, but run straight into a tripwire, which gives a ton of information. You can already see the rotation start to come through here. Immediately, Stephanie gets dinked out. And with Carly, the last person standing for her team, 9 HP in a dream. And Emily will put that dream to bed.
Yeah, that's a rough one to take a peek at, especially because they were going for the plant. Should they get the plant there, the rest of the team kind of gets boosted in credits, and you could quite possibly force after losing that pistol. But 2 different pages, right? Stephanie swings back sight. Carly tries to plant safe and has to hop up to get a kill, and then just doesn't have the time to do it there. So I think, at least for you and I, Sam, we've yet to see a force buy from the team losing pistol, so that would have been nice to see to kind of change up the monotony of the economy game early in these ones. But either way, Dignitas back to their winning ways. Some way, somehow, they always seem to win pistol in the first half.
Well, you say that, but literally on the previous map, OWA were winning both pistol rounds, both the first half and the second half. So Dignitas is the first time they're winning the pistol round in this series. But do they win the second pistol round, right? That's where it becomes important. So yes, they do have the slightly bigger guns here, but OWA starting to make their moves over onto the A site for that first pick off. Once again, dangerous look here for OWA.
Last player standing.
In the classics, they're able to find one. Teray trying to go crazy and find something onto Emily, and good for a couple of kills. Now has that Empress on the line here in round number 3, which this could really tip the scales in favor of Dignitas, even though they're going to be sitting on these Spectres still.
Potentially, if they can leverage something there, because now again, obviously they're coming up against the full rifle round, and this is quite telegraphed. This is how almost every single buy round goes. There's very few teams that deviate from this template. Ooh, a Vandal coming in for Emily there. They're kind of investing in her here. They kind of want her to be able to get some value. They realize that they're at the gun disadvantage, but Emily, who has been the MVP, she was the MVP of the previous match, and she really plays this Reyna exceptionally well. She's also got the Empress online, so you add that with the Vandal that she's now acquired for herself. Dignitas are not looking to lose this next round.
Looking for a nice little C split here. It is going to be sniffed out by that trap wire inside garage as Rain does get spotted and is forced to back away. The Stars now looking to come down. Still hanging out on the ground. There's that nebulous smoke. try and block all of that vision. Rain from downtown with the Spectre chips away, but doesn't find the damage, but Sholiana is there to back her up. A double kill with the shock darts. And Dignitas find themselves in a 2v2. Stephanie now cuts it down to just the Empress and Emily, but a 1v1 working against the clock. It's the Vandal they forced up, but Stephanie sits her down a 3K for the breach.
And despite putting that little bit of extra into Emily because they needed her to be that clutch factor, and to be fair, she almost was. Pops the Empress at the end of the round there after getting quite a few kills, but unfortunately comes up against Stephanie. Stephanie manages to clutch out that last little kill there. Really well played here from OWA. They had the gun advantage. They leveraged that for themselves. And what's really interesting here is seeing that they're not buying up. So they win that last round. Obviously, they lost a lot of their players. So their economy doesn't look as good as it could. But you can see that they're looking to make sure that they have a large economy going into future rounds. Especially if they lose this round, they want to make sure that they're going to be able to buy up in the next round. So this is really forward thinking from OWA. And you love to see stuff like that. However, there is a Hunter's Fury available for Dignitas here. So going to need to be careful of that and how it splits up the team and forces you away.
Carly off to a good start here for OWA. Now the Hunter's Fury online as well.
Oh,
Sheriff
there it is.
coming up clutch. And yeah, here's a Hunter's Fury. Sholiana trying to push everybody off the side. It's low HP on Carly from the duel. And Sholiana finds that kill. Make it another with the Odin. Stephanie no longer alive to try and find the clutch here. Hannah has a huge flank and cuts down 3 on B. OWA tie us up.
That... All right, cool. that was so well played there. The smoke comes down. Nobody checks that back corner. Nobody thought that she would be in that link corridor waiting. Here we're going to have that replay. Look at that. Smoke goes down. 1, 2, triple tap. Oh, man, that was disgusting. Super well played there from Hannah. And this is what I was saying. So they didn't even lose the last round. They come through into the next round. They still have cash to burn. So if they lose this round, they're still looking good in the next round. And it's an anti-eco. So they know that they can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. But with Milky popping the Blade Storm, that makes it that little bit more kind of hesitant.
You get a bit of information. Emily was playing aggressive there, and they hear that Sheriff, so they know at the very least, Sheriff's bought up here. If you buy a Sheriff, typically you don't have a Bucky, so you don't really have to be worried about that as they look to push through, or if they look to push through a short. Anna right back to her fragging wags. Picks up 1 on the imposter there. Theo will fall. So now all of that utility off the board from that Cypher or Dignitas. It's an expected round for OWA. Like you noted, those blades still online. You could see something crazy coming out from Dignitas to try and turn this one around. And you find these couple of close kills inside Garage. Could they push this way? There's some weapon upgrades for your squads. And now Milky. Oh, man, the crossfire setup. No, Teray looking the other way. Hannah still goes good for 3 on the round. They try to back up the blades. They just couldn't do it. She's 1 away from the ace, but Sholiana will deny. Now there's just nowhere to go. No time. 21 HP, a ghost. We might see Sholiana cosplay a ghost here as he peaks 3. Only 2 rounds in this Vandal. Just going to look to save here. Economy is good, so the save doesn't necessarily hurt, and a rifle in hands is A-okay, but OWA looked so good holding that one down.
I'm super impressed. Yeah, I rattled off the stats and I was like, yes, the air attack side is really good on Haven. Heard her. But like, they're actually proving it now. They're showing up. They've still got a couple of ultimates online. Yeah, they're about to have the Blade Storm. 2 more kills, or if Maddie can get an orb and a kill, then that's going to be the Blade Storm as well. This is where they need to stop being careful. Milky Way has dropped every last cent she has into getting that operator. Doesn't have any armor. So she's a bit of a glass cannon at the moment. Nothing really to defend her from the onslaught of damage that could potentially come through. She's going to be holding that B site because this tends to be where OWA push through from. So if OWA swap up their direction, if they try and push through a different avenue, then they should have a clean run towards one of the sites.
And a tag leads to a Hunter's Fury from Carly. Unfortunately, going to split the uprights on that last shot. So Sholiana walks away with just taking a bit of damage. Sageless in both of these comps, so no heals for that Sova, unfortunately. So we'll see how Sholiana plays around the 70 HP. Meanwhile, a play towards A. This is what we've seen from Dignitas, though. They like to leave Thea here all by her lonesome. And that tag on the cam was enough to back him off, Sam.
They immediately start to make the rotation. They need to be careful, though, because Emily is right here. They just run straight past her. They throw a cloud burst in so they don't see her running, and they make their way towards that C site. Now, of course, they do need to be careful because they're still... Oh my earth, the double bait. As they move their way back towards the B site, they ran past, so they had kind of elephant vibes going through. They shift walk their way back towards the A site. The full rotation's gone over towards C, and they're just gonna book it towards the A site to put that plant down.
Fortunately for Dignitas, Emily wasn't spotted out, so probably heard those footsteps, which means the rotate gets here a bit quicker than it would have. And the Rolling Thunder used just for good measure to try and clear out that side. As Stephanie takes quite a bit of damage on the way in, trying to stop Emily from finding her way into the site. It's a 5v5 retake. Neural Theft available for OWA should they find a kill up close and personal. Rain picks up one. Carly gonna trade it back immediately. They drop down from heaven and the kill feed just gets flooded, but we're cut down to the last one for Dignitas. It's Rain. And working against the clock, the pressure is on. Rain is the one to get it done. That recon bolt not gonna get the info because of the dark cover. Rain able to get it halfway, quite possibly might just be sticking it. Will the snowball pros don't fake, but Carly finds the kill. A 4K on the round to propel OWA ahead.
And it actually looked like Carly was hesitating for a half second there. She was looking towards the side, waiting, and suddenly she realizes, all right, I gotta go, I gotta spray. And she manages to kill it. And that's why it's so important to know exactly where your teammates are planting things. Because when there's smokes, when there's utility running through, and you can't see anything, all you know is that somebody's busy diffusing. You need to know the exact spot where that spike is. And that's exactly how we managed to get a clutch round there. Our looking so good on this Haven map. Coming into this next round, they've used a couple of their ultimates, but they still have the upload, which means that they'll be able to find out, well, they'll need to get a kill first, but they'll be able to find out exactly where the entirety of Dignitas are. All Dignitas really have to play with here is the Shrouded Step. Our also got the Operator off the board, which means that, you know, Milk's economy would have been dashed a little bit. All she's going to be able to come in here with is the rifle, so no Operator that they need to be worried about.
Even then, a slow start. Once more, creeping over towards A. And they quite possibly have figured out that they're looking to play retake on A. And they're close rounds. That last one, very close in the retake. Could have gone either way. You know, pros don't fake. Sometimes you just got to stick that spike and hope for the best. Unfortunately, it didn't go Dignitas's way in that round, or Rain's way in that round. We'll see if they can do it again. Same situation, 5v5 retake. Just about the same ultimates online. Although, because of that plant, Teray is going to have that cosmic divide, which makes things a whole lot more dicey.
And of course, on top of that, we've got Emily going on a wild flank here, which Teray is expecting. So she's going to be holding down this A long. Oh no, she was just going into her astral form. She is trying to hold it down though, but trades are going back and forth on the side through the smokes.
And this time it's up to Carly again, but can she clutch it up? No, Milky Way instead. A huge 4K in response to get Dig back in the win column.
And that was a very, very chaotic round. I think that Dig were a little bit slow to react there. They were kind of expecting our to play those mind games, and our just walked onto A site. They got the plant down, and then Dignitas didn't even wait. Immediately, all of that utility starts coming out. The cloud bursts, just everything that you can think of gets thrown out. The shock darts, trying to make sure that they can shut everything down. And then, of course, you just have Dignitas popping off, managing to get quite a few kills there towards the end and clutch out that round. This map is going way closer than what we saw previously on Ascent, and we can already see how this kind of back and forth has damaged Dignitas' economy, because two of their players are coming into this with a Spectre and a Bulldog. It's less than ideal.
In recent rounds, the way that things have played out, the Hunter's Fury has come online. The Cosmic Divide, now the Blade Storm online here for OWA. And for Dignitas, they haven't been able to net a whole lot. Emily does have the Empress now online from that last defuse in the last round. And From the Shadows has been available for Rain and can sometimes be difficult on this defending side outside of just gaining information, it can be difficult to find a way to employ that ultimate. Like you said, they played things a bit differently. The Cypher this time over towards C.
Oh.
A completely free. They actually
Is that a
send the
bait?
divide towards A. Milky Way's going to spot out this info, though. Knows it's a flank, or knows it's a fake, excuse me.
Oh my.
And,
The
oh
double
my
fake.
goodness, they just keep doing it. It's the back and forth.
Yeah, this ping pong match can go really badly though because Dig seem to have read it quite well. They've just gone back to their positions now. They're waiting until something actually pushes through. This wall isn't going to last forever either. There it goes. It's completely off the board now, and Dignitas just need to play for the retakes here.
I absolutely love that play. It was, we fake towards C. We get
Oh!
spotted out as Emily finds that kill. Stephanie was looking for something on the flank. Unfortunately, not quite looking in the right direction, as Emily finds some value on the flank this time around. Has the Empress available. We are still in a 4v4 at Hunter Shuri, also online for OWA. So Carly looks to be playing off-site. Might try and have some backup for the team as Milky Way cutting down on the flank of her own. Emily able to get on the board, taking down the duelist. It's all down to one. It's all down to Carly again in this round. Able to knock off two. Not able to bury the third. No utility available to keep herself alive. Very close on time, but Dignitas will knot us up at 4.
So these fakes can be really, really powerful, but there are instances where they start to lose their potency. It's kind of like diminishing returns. If you're doing it too often, the enemy team are going to start to catch wise that you're trying to fake. And if you're doing these like double, triple fakes, you sometimes tend to trip yourself up more than the enemy team. Now, Dignitas, they kind of have that fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me kind of vibe going on there. As we actually saw once that bait started, Dignitas were like, whoa, okay, we're not going to fall for this. We're going to default back to our positions, and once we have information, then we move. And they win out that round because they play patiently instead of reactively.
Oh, and they're playing quick here. This is the proactive play from OWA. Madison dashing through garage. Unfortunately, only able to find one kill with that ultimate, but Stephanie is right there behind her. Tries to go for the upgrade. Gets buried by Sholiana, but it's a retake again. 3v3 across the board, and that Hunter's Fury earlier in the round actually cut Teray down to very low HP, and we saw a very minor trade over towards C Long, knocking Hannah down very low. So Emily looking to get a whole lot of value here with the Empress online. Takes on the trap wire, finds the head of one. Now looking for more. Can they dethrone the queen as Carly finally uses that Hunter's Fury this time around? Teray's able to find one kill, but they're all shut down. They try to stop the push, but Dignitas is just too good on the retake.
Dignitas kind of starting to get their stride again. I spoke about how they have really good map control, and for a time they were kind of floundering a little bit. They lost quite a few rounds to OWA, and to be fair, these were rounds where OWA performed really, really well. They managed to get some good baits off. They managed to win out quite a few aim duels, and they had some really good crossfires set up. But now Dignitas are starting to get used to the flow of the match, and this is what I said about C9 in the previous series as well. But it's taken Dignitas a little bit longer to get used to the flow here. That being said, I think that OWA are creative enough that they are going to be able to turn the tides again. They're just going to come up with a different wild strategy that Dignitas are just going to look at and go, what? What?
Well, that kill right there has me lost for words. Is Milky able to find not only the kill, but dash away completely unscathed. And the last time we saw Milky get any information on this side, it forced a C push. This time, they're still trying to send it this way. Emily does get spotted, and the shock darts just barely going to go wide there, missing from behind. And she just hasn't moved an inch. Goes good for a kill to match her teammate. And Milky Way not done yet. 2 kills on the round. The spike down in a precarious spot. Unbeknownst, though, to OWA's, the weapon swap comes through on accident, trying to grab that spike. Nobody was watching that. So, and I don't know if they know they had the spike down there for Dignitas.
This is, again, a very good defensive round for Dignitas. I must say, Milky feels like one of those players that's just kind of everywhere. You know, it's like you can't escape from her. And yes, like Jet has a ton of mobility, and you often play her as a bit of a roamer, especially when she has the the operator in her hands. But Milky has been playing that roaming jet really, really well. 1 minute she's here, the next minute she's there. She's getting kills here, there, and everywhere, and she's performing really, really well here. Now OWA with the last 2 players standing, they are going to be able to get this spike down, but with only 2 players left, make that 1, make that none.
And when it rains, it pours here on the seaside. Dignitas
Rain.
at the very least grab themselves an even half, pushing their way 6-4. And to kind of go back on that point about Jet, it's almost similar to Reyna as well, where if you're peeking something, you're saying, hey, let's just swing together and trade me, right? We talked about them wanting to, or us wanting to see them work together a bit more, you know, try and trade kills and swing off of one another. But they're not allowed to do that because Milky Way grabs a kill, dashes away immediately. Emily can do the same exact thing, pick up a kill and use that dismiss to get away. So those 2 agents are doing so well in making sure that OWA cannot work together. It's when it comes to the kill factors, we see a tactical pause here from OWA to try and reel it back in with 2 rounds left in the half.
And we actually saw OWA take attack pause in the previous round, or the previous map as well. Didn't quite go their way though, but it was also around about this time. I think it was 5-4, in fact, when they took up their previous tack pause. But again, Dignitas were able to just kind of push back a little bit harder. Now this is a good place to take that tack pause because there's 2 rounds left until we swap sides. So they want to try and even out the score. They don't want to be going into the next round at an 8-4. It's what happened to them on Ascent. They don't want a repeat of that. They want to try and even this out so that they have a much better fighting chance coming into the next one. Even if they just take 1 more round here and bring it to a 7-5, that is a respectable scoreline at the half. And it's more than enough, especially if they win those pistol rounds again, they even out the scoreline. But if they even it out now and they win the 2 pistol rounds, that puts them at a 2-point lead. So it's really important that whatever decision they make now in this tack pause, they're able to execute it. They don't have a full buy. They've got 1 player still running around with a less than ideal weapon. But I'm not going to discredit them because they do still have the Rolling Thunder, and we saw how devastating that was on Ascent.
Wow. So the strategy completely switched to the opposite side of the map for Dignitas. Instead of looking to retake A, they're playing that retake on C, which means a free plant, but a 5v5 duel now as the post-plant positions come through. The Rolling Thunder is online. We've seen that bode very well for OWA in that last map. In this one, it has been used, but it didn't get a whole lot of value as that site was already cleared. There's the gravity well to pull one in. Hannah gets caught off guard in the neural theft for the information. So now all the post-plant positions, and there it is, the trade. They're trying to find it, but the dismiss comes through. Back and forth we go, and it's all down to the breach. With the ultimate in hand, the fault line available, the defuse comes through. All 3 get tagged by this, but there's so many smokes. There's so much to obscure the vision. She doesn't have the angles on low HP. The defuse gets stuck. It comes on through, and Dignitas push to 7.
I don't know if you meant this pun earlier, but you were like, when it rains, it pours. And I think that we just saw that live and in full color because rain really, really popped off in that round. I think that Rolling Thunder was a little bit of an overcommitment because, like you said, there was still so much utility still on the board. She was the last person alive. It was a 1v3. Yes, there was definitely potential there to turn it around. But if she'd saved it for this round, you know, you've got the wall. Maybe you have the wall and the Rolling Thunder. You get something done there. There's a couple of ultimates that might come online for Dignitas here if they get 1 or 2 kills. They only really have the Blade Storm available here at the start of the round. So holding on to that Rolling Thunder may have proven more useful. But this is the last round in the half, and OWA have to give it everything that they've got if they want to make sure that they're not going into this next half at an 8-4 deficit.
And 8-4 would be very reminiscent of the last time they were on Haven, obviously on the inverse, but the last map as well. OWA found themselves down 8-4. So this could already be that that comeback story. Could we see a 7-5? That spike gets planted in an awkward spot, and I think they did that because the Cosmic Divide is now online. So as the retake comes through, there it is. That Cosmic Divide just cuts off the backup site, and you have to push not only on the other side, but there's so much space given over to OWA through this. As Stephanie He's being a nuisance with the flashpoints. Shock darts going through. Paranoia on top of it all. Everything going to be cleared underneath this heaven side, but now they have to bridge the gap. Milky Way, though, going huge with the ultimate. OWA had the plan, but it falls apart. Now running out of time. As that spike, it did get halfway. Okay, the spike gonna be defused. Dignitas going to grab 8, and OWA, they gave it their all, but they just couldn't get it done in that last round.
I feel like a common misplay has been the precise placements of those walls, because there's a lot of potential with the wall, but I think it's not just about where the wall is being placed, but it's also about realizing exactly where the enemy team is. Because you put the wall up, but they're not pushing from that defender spawn side. They're pushing from A site. So it doesn't matter that the wall is cutting off the defender spawn. So you really do need to be thinking kind of more three-dimensionally there, you know, not just about one particular avenue. Yes, you cut off that avenue, but sometimes that's just not enough. And with the patience that Dignitas have and how they play together as a team, you need to be trying to counter that as well. So OWA with a really good look overall. It's these small micro missteps that if they tighten up on, I mean, they've been performing out of their minds. They've had some phenomenal rounds, and it really is just coming down to those small things. So if they tighten up on that, then they will be a force to be reckoned with. But this match is not over yet. 8-4 in the half. It is reminiscent of what we saw earlier on Ascent, but this has been a really, really good map for OWA overall. And now that they have a chance to defend, we'll see if they can turn this one around.
Dignitas they seem to thrive inside of that chaos that we saw in that last replay package. And I'll be honest, I was thinking for a while as we see the pre-round rituals, everybody getting warmed up here. Love to absolutely love to see it. Now we have the unpause and we've got some time. The retake looked really good. Obviously, there's no retake on the attacking side for Dignitas, so they're really going to have to be potent. And the point I was making before we saw that ritual there was the Blade Storms have felt a little dull for me, or, you know, just the use of a poor pun there. And Milky Way came up huge there at the end, at quite possibly one of the best times to do it in such a big way to close out that half for Dignitas.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we've seen the Blade Storms get popped quite often, and it's one of those abilities that is also a really good deterrent. So it might not necessarily get you kills, but when the enemy team realizes that the Blade Storm is up, they kind of pull back a little bit. They don't want to aggress in on it because they know how deadly it is. So even when it's not getting kills, it can still work as a don't come here because we have this and you don't want to get killed by this. And that's a great way of trying to funnel the enemy team into a particular area.
Well, speaking of funneling into a particular area, Madison trying to get away there, but running into a teammate as Dignitas funnel into this C site. Rain able to find the one on the flank. Only one remaining. We've seen Hannah pick up a 4K, but it was with rifles against pistols. I believe it wasn't necessarily in just that pistol round. Dignitas, they looked dicey on these second half pistols. This time, they come in absolutely huge as the running spray and pray. That's Hannah down to 16. And Emily gonna finish off the job there that was started by Sholiana. 9-4, surely 10-4. We might see Dignitas on double digits here. I mean, would you force in this situation if you're OWA? You're on defense. You could get Buckies and armors, or would you say just stick to your guns here, hang out until that first rifle?
I think you save here because, again, when you win this round, if Dignitas win this round, they're on 10. And if you force up here and you lose, your economy is a mess. And Dignitas have to win with 3 rounds. So, again, you do need to be playing a little bit more safe here. Yes, there is kind of the loser streak bonus, but it's not massive, particularly not now in the second round of the second half. So you do need to be playing that just that little bit more carefully. However, that does mean that Dignitas have the gun advantage here, and that 9 out of 10 times translates into a round win. That is not an official stat, by the way. I made that up on the fly. It seemed accurate.
Typically, it does go that way. I think the only time you see it fall flat is when there isn't a whole lot of respect given, which I see in all of my competitive games across the board, where you don't buy full armor. But as we've been swapping through these players, every single one we've seen so far has the 50 armor on top of the 100 health. So it's so much harder for the classics to even get close to cutting them down, which a right click to the head and two to the body can get, 120 something damage down. With that extra armor, that is really that extra factor that makes this round really unwinnable for OWA. They just try and find whatever they can. A shorty in the hands. They push to the back of the site. Nice flashpoint. Reload needs to come through from Maddie as they're able to cut down to Teray. Now with the classic in hand, not able to find a weapon, unfortunately. Has the stars available, has the smokes available. Could look to get a little frisky going in with the astral form there. Unfortunately, Rain sniffs it out, sprays her down through the smoke. A nice 3K on the round. It was to be expected, but I would do make it hurt a little bit.
When it rains, it really do pour.
Yeah.
Like, that is going to be my favorite pun from now on. Anytime I cast Dignitas, I'm going to be using that. A little bit slow to rotate there. I think that they were a little bit slow on the uptake as to how quickly Dignitas were pushing out onto the site. And now, so this is where we get into why they needed to save in the previous round. So now it's 10-4. If they win this round, then they at least look good. They can start to build up some of their economy. If they lose this round, we're one round away from match point. Again, that's why you always want to be coming into the second half with as many points as you possibly can have. 8-4, best of a bad situation. Our didn't win the pistols this time around. They won both pistols on Ascent or on Haven. Yeah, Ascent. Weren't able to do the same on Haven, and now you can see the effect that it's having on their scoreline.
And Dig with the SMGs, looking to take the fight right to him. Close quarter combat towards this B site. Rain looking to get the spike down. Not a whole lot to answer at this point outside of shock darts, and yep, actually nothing used there to stop that. So the post plants in full effect as both the Cyphers able to get on the board. Hannah and Thea going good for a couple of kills. Thea finds another, though, cutting Carly down. The spike now being diffused. They have to just push through the smokes. Emily's able to do just that and find 2 kills. Hannah on the flank through mid, not able to find anything but 1 kill on the round. And this is the picture you painted, Sam. Dignitas at 11. The economy incredibly poor for OWA. And I mean, backs against the wall is the understatement here.
Oh man, this is such a deep hole for OWA to dig themselves out of. And we've seen teams do it before. We've actually seen OWA do this before. But it's going to be tough. Particularly because their defense on this map is not as clean as their offense was. Dignitas have just been really, really good at getting onto site quickly and maintaining control of that site. So now OWA with the supreme gun disadvantage, they're likely going to lose this round. They're going to have to full buy the next round. And once we get to the next round, should they lose this one, again, it's that perpetual match point. So every single round counts from here on out. And Dignitas, they realize that. They know that they have the advantage here. And they're not going to play irresponsibly. Look at how patiently they're playing this. Moving in slowly. They've still got a bit of a Cypher lurk. Watching those flanks as well. Not taking anything for granted as they're going to burst their way onto site any second now. They are going to need to be careful, however, because with 2 people on site, including the breach, it could make it difficult to, breach the site.
Yeah, and both Lear's going to be used there as Stephanie with those flash points, able to slow things down for a second. Both Jets on the board. A nice little fake tailwind there to maybe not give away this position, but show Liana ready for it. Up close and personal. We'll find the kill and bag that one onto Madison. Now the spike to be planted. 3 stars available as it looks like maybe a couple of smokes to go down to try and stop any entrance or exits. OWA forced up in this round, now cut down to their last 3 members, and could quite possibly be pushed to map point. Thea finds one on the flank, and now you have to be wary about pushing on the site, because where is that Cypher? You're down to your last 2, and you just have to send it running out of time. 37 HP on 1, now only down to 1. As Teray does not have a whole lot going in her favor. Might just look to save the Bulldog, but Thea says, I don't think so. No way, Jose. Map point, series point here for Dignitas. And OWA, it's going to be another yard sale buy.
Oh, Haven is such a difficult map to get control of sometimes. And I feel for OWA because, again, they've got all of that potential in the world. But coming up against a team like Dignitas, it's difficult, you know? But of course, being so far in the bracket, you're going to be coming up against the best teams. And of course, they should be considering themselves as one of those best teams. To have made it this far, they might be in the lower bracket, but damn it, they made it this far. Now the Bladestorm is going to be popped as we find ourselves on that match point. OWA with the janky buy, Dignitas with 3 ultimates online and full rifles. It'll take a miracle, a Herculean task for OWA here to try and get another point on the board. Let's see if they can make that dream come true.
Basically a 5-point stance across the map here for the defense. They don't want to give up B for free this time around. They're A-okay to play retake on that A side as Teray holding it down inside the link, trying to get any information, any sound cues that she possibly can. Nice fault line, gonna get the stun onto Milky Way, unbeknownst to this OWA squad because they don't have the info, and a couple of kills. Make it 3, make it 4. When it rains, it pours. Again, who better than as Thea finds the kill on the counterpart, imposter down in Dignitas, bag a 2-0 series.
So close there. I feel like, so it wasn't quite as close as our previous series, but I feel like much like Dignitas versus C9, OWA had a lot of shining moments. There is so much potential there with this team. I think with a little bit more time to play together, these ladies are going to be a phenomenal force to be reckoned with. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. I think I already said it previously, but to have made it this far, that's already something to really, really be proud of. And again, this isn't going to be the last Game Changers. There's going to be so many more opportunities for these ladies to shine. And I want to see that. I want to see, like, one of the main things that I talked up at the end of the previous series was how much C9 and Dignitas have both grown since FTW. And why? It's because they didn't split up. They, you know, it wasn't just like a once-off thing and then, oh, well, I'll see what happens when the next tournament comes around. They stuck together, they stuck it out, and they worked hard. And I want to see these ladies, not just OWA, but all the teams in this tournament, taking that same attitude. We're not just going to split apart at the end of this tournament. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep training. We're going to come back in the next tournament. We're going to be better than we were before, and we're going to show everyone how much we've improved, and we're going to knock their socks off. That's what I want from OWA.
Yeah, 100%. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of Valorant. This is just beginning of this Verizon Game Changers scene as a whole. And like, you can see the clear differences when you have a team that has put a whole lot of work in across the board, and they're at the top for that reason. Then you see the teams that have put in work, not quite as much, and they're just about up there as well. And then you have teams that are pieced together. You know, Frogs coming into this one. Watch this coming into this one. This OWA squad who are just piecing it together for Game Changers and trying to get it done. You just get more time under your belt and it turns into something. And when we take a look at these replays, the biggest thing for Dignitas that I'm hoping to see moving forward, because they do move forward to fight another day. Unfortunately, OWA are now knocked out of this Verizon Game Changers tournament. The biggest thing I want to see is get over that mental block, because you're going to be playing teams that have been doing a whole lot and have more experience, and just keep doing this because this works for you. It doesn't matter who it's against. Just keep doing this. They looked so good in this one, despite losing to Cloud9 in 2-0 fashion.
Yep, and the winner of this, of course, Dignitas, will be moving on in the lower bracket to play against the winner of CLG Red versus TSM Female. And just for those of you that haven't been following the mainstream, that is currently 1-0 in favor of CLG, which is a little bit of a surprising turn of events in my opinion, but nonetheless, Dignitas will go on to face the winner of that one. And I'm really glad Hannah wound up with the MVP at the end of this map, because like, she had some phenomenal standout moments, some clutches, some multi-kills that, like, she didn't really stand out too much on Haven, or rather on Ascent. But when we came onto Haven, she kind of blossomed. And I think it has to do a lot with the nature of Haven. It really lends itself to that Cypher play. You can play that anchor and still be able to get a ton of value on it at the same time. So really impressed with how she played today. And then, of course, Rain. we said it so many times. When it rains, it pours. She performed out of her mind, not just in this series, but also the series against C9. Really, really phenomenal player there.
Rain was absolutely sick. And at the start of the day, when we were looking at rosters, it was Thea, it was Sholiana, who put up solid performances and had their own individual moments. And then coming to this next match, it was like, hey, we need a head-to-head. Who are the players that we're looking at? And we kind of danced around it for a second. Then both you and I are like, wait a second, Rain. Rain was huge. Even in defeat, Rain had crazy clutches, big rounds against the Titan that is Cloud9 White. And then, I mean, that's the caster blessing, right? She shows up in both of these maps and does it in such a phenomenal fashion, able to find the multi-kills. Going into this matchup, I said the chemical X is the experience and the confidence, and you see what happens when you have a bit of confidence. You win 1v3s, you find multi-kills, you get 4Ks, you thrive in the chaos that is all of the smokes and cyber cages and everything you can imagine on C site, which is really where we saw Rain start to shine. And a phenomenal performance from this player. And obviously Dignitas as a whole is, again, I'm hoping that we're going to get ourselves an interview, because it's only up from here from Dignitas, right? They go forward. It's looking like, I just took a look here against that TSM CLG Red, and it was 9-6, I believe, on split in favor of CLG Red. So that quite possibly could be one of the teams that they're looking at. And that right there, that's a team that has been working together for a little bit. So that matchup, we're no longer, eyeballing 13-6s, 13-4s. We could quite possibly, get those overtimes, to get those map 3s. So I'm interested to see how ready Dignitas are for something like that, or those two teams.
Yeah, I think so. If they come up against TSM again, they already beat TSM yesterday. It was a 2-1, and it was a really, really fun match to watch. I don't think they've played against CLG yet in this tournament, so that would be kind of an unknown factor. And as I mentioned, CLG won that first map, which was split. It was a 13-5 scoreline. So we are kind of waiting. I believe they're still playing out the second map now. I'm not too sure what the scoreline is at the moment, but it could very well be that CLG Dignitas next round. I must say that, personally, it feels weird to say I'd be disappointed, because again, like I've been supporting Arianicus for quite some time, and I really wanted to see her perform. But at the same time, it's really exciting because I want to see more teams blossom. So I want to see CLG. I want to see how they do under pressure. I know how good TSM is. I know how good TSM can be. Now I need to see, how does CLG, stand up? How do they go through their trial by fire? Do they come out on the other side, or do Dignitas continue along the way? These are all the questions that I need answered, and tomorrow is the day to find out.
True, yeah. The action is throughout the weekend. Obviously, we've got Saturday, Sunday games going for you guys, and we're not done with the content just yet. As we said, we are trying to get that Verizon post-game interview queued up for you guys so we can kind of pick the brains a little bit. I want to go back and kind of as an umbrella statement, you've kind of been hitting on it and just talking about how we want to see these teams flourish and how we want to see these ladies putting teams together and competing and things like this. And I think you can take a look at, Cloud9 White, who have been so strong here at Game Changers. They haven't necessarily had the same showing kind of across the board. They've had good runs, but it's not like they weren't winning, the challengers tournaments. They weren't, winning in masters and things of that nature. And that's not to knock them. That's just goes to show how strong you can be when you have that grit. You can bear down. You can take those losses on the chin, and you can just keep moving forward. So like you've been saying, it's kind of just a harp on it, just to keep it up, ladies, as we do have that Verizon post-game interview ready with Emily coming on through. First and foremost, Emily, congratulations. You guys, you made it look good. And in doing so, I want to know kind of what the prep for this game was, right? You lose to Cloud9. Were you guys kind of in your feels about it, or was it just, let's just brush it off and go next?
Well, going into that game, we knew that Cloud9 is a really hard-working team, and they showed it playing against us. They played with some agents that we weren't really used to. We've only been playing full-time Valorant for about 2.5 months, so we're still learning. We're still trying to get that experience, and it was all learning experience playing against them. So hopefully we can get that rematch. But from playing CS before, we're just really prepared of just brushing it off and going into our next game.
And what a tough match it was. But now you came through against OWA. So kind of a similar question, but this time about OWA specifically. How were you feeling coming up against this team? Because I'm not sure if you ladies played in the VALORANT League, but they did fairly well in that league as well. So was there a little bit of trepidation there, or were you feeling pretty confident?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a team that also works hard. We've scrimmed against them and they beat our butts. Like, so we know that, man, they're really hard to play against. So we wanted that rematch versus them, and they're just such a hard opponent to play against. So they gave us a really good game. But we had some VODs that we could review and just kind of anti-strat versus that.
Nice. So now, I guess getting into a little bit of the strategy, what is it for you guys that you prioritize that Reyna over the Phoenix? I know that it is kind of 50-50 coin flippy kind of across the board, but I mean, you seem to really enjoy that pick.
Yeah, I mean, I play other agents, but Reyna is just kind of my inner soul. My teammates know that I literally laugh like her in real life. So, you know, Reyna is my girl, so I really like playing with her.
So you guys have made it this far in the tournament. And coming up next, it's either going to be CLG or TSM. And in terms of not like favoritism, like who do you like more or whatever, but who are you hoping wins? Because who are you really looking forward to play against?
Well, we've already played against TSM, so I would really like to just play against CLG because we haven't had a chance to yet. We know a lot of those girls, again, from previous game we were playing, so going into Valorant, it's a whole new playing field we learned, so I really do want to play against them and see what they got versus us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to really seeing kind of how all the cards lie. We always talk about Valorant kind of being a rock, paper, scissors, you know, rock beats scissors and paper beats rock, and I'm getting too confused with that one. Now,
That's
Sam,
how that
I
game works. Yes,
I kind of
good
have
job.
like a closing kind of question or closing remarks, and I want to toss it to you real quick. Do you have any other questions here for Emily before we let her go?
How do you feel about your chances of getting into the grand final and potentially winning it?
I feel really confident. Again, we just have plenty of experience for this is almost like a marathon run tournament. I would say we're used to playing as much as we are, and it might be a little bit tiring to teams that aren't used to playing as often. You know, a lot of girls have the struggle with working full time and all of those outgame struggles. So yeah. So we're ready. I'm feeling really confident in us. We have all the girls on really good ping now. We've been practicing with Juliana in Brazil. Now she's in Mexico, and Milk's not in Hawaii. She's here with me in California, so we got that good ping. And yeah, we're really ready, and I'm feeling really confident.
Okay, so one last thing for me then is confidence, obviously key. And there are a handful of teams already that have been sent home, and you seem to have all of the experience in the background, you know, coming over from that CS side. What is something that you would kind of say to these ladies who might be feeling down in the dumps, not making it as far as some of these teams in this tournament?
Well, just having this VCT Game Changers tournament is something that I have been wanting in the CS scene for women's for such a long time, for years. So don't get distraught or get sad if you didn't win or didn't do the results that you wanted to do, because keep going, because we started from nothing, literally nothing, and look at where we are today. We're signed by Dignitas. We won some world championships in our previous game, and I'm just so happy to see other women supporting each other's in the Valorant community. It's so inspiring to me, and yeah, just keep working hard. I know that it's hard working full time and wanting to follow your passion, but trust me, it's all the worth.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks. If you guys are tuning in, just shoot your shot and just follow your dreams.
Keep going.
Exactly. Just keep on keeping on, the little engine that could. Emily, thank you so much. And congratulations again. And we're looking forward to see you continue playing in the Game Changers.
Thank you.
Ryzen post-match interview. It doesn't get any better than that. We've got like the two inverses, right? It was the Mel from C9 saying, yeah, we feel really strong, we feel really good, and then you've got that uprising story from Dignitas Emily there and saying just keep on keeping on, don't give up, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel, trust me. So just keep doing what you're doing. Now, we've had some good action today, and we got to follow this Dignitas team, so forgive me if I seem a little biased, but I want to see him do well. I want to see him keep on going forward as we do have that flick of the day for you guys. We can't close it out with getting you guys some sweet highlights on the way out. And it's going to be a play none other than Jazzykins, which maybe I Caster blessed this because I didn't think she was going to be playing, but this was just such a sick play. It was around the clock, around the horn here, running around these the dice box, buying so much time, and then eventually closing it out. You see that flick there, a 4K on the round. Damn, that C9 roster is just so darn impressive.
I mean, Jazzy has been impressing me for quite some time. Like I said, there's one particular moment that I'll never forget from FTW. She was playing on split. She put a cloud burst on B side right towards the back with literally a pixel gap for her to peek through with the operator and manages to get a 2 or a 3K as the enemy team starts pushing their way up towards ramp. I mean, her mechanical skill is just so good. You add to that, she has a really good understanding of the game, of the individual maps. She's performed exceptionally well, and I'm really glad to see that the addition of Katie hasn't limited too much her ability to play on the team and to have those shining moments, because she really is a phenomenal player, and I'm looking forward to seeing more out of her as well.
Yeah, and we're going to get to see more out of Katie, and the rest of that Cloud9 squad we've got a whole lot going, right? Up in that upper final, we've got Cloud9 White taking on Moon Raccoons Black, the team that sent CLG Red down into that lower finals to play TSM. And we've got that bracket ready for you guys if we want to take a peek just to see where the rest of the action is going to be going throughout the weekend. So there it is. Dignitas sitting pretty, waiting to see. Actually, that map went 1-1. So TSM and CLG Red are going to go the distance, which is super fun to see. But I believe tomorrow our action will be kicking off in the upper bracket. Cloud9 White taking on Moon Raccoons Black. And this is a matchup that I wrote so many notes down because obviously this Cloud9 team is a phenomenal team and they have so much experience under their belt. But I already hyped him up, and I absolutely love the coach there for the Moon Raccoons because of the mind that he has for the game, the drive he has for the game. He's been working with players across the board, whether it be creating discords or certain teams. Kevin Lilicious Lee, the mind behind the Mamba Mode Gaming back when they were running that tier 2 scene. So I think that is going to be one of our first really good showings here for the Verizon Game Changers. But unfortunately for today, that does things for us. Now, before we go, Sam, I want to get some closing remarks, some final thoughts on the day, on what we might see tomorrow. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, geez, I've waxed lyrical all day. I think just to reiterate some of the things I've said before, I'm really grateful that we have this tournament. I'm loving seeing how these ladies are flourishing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring for us tomorrow. I don't want to throw predictions out there. I don't want to overanalyze too much right now. I want to be in the moment and really just appreciate how much work these ladies have put into getting here and just let them play their game. And I'm really looking forward to coming back tomorrow and telling that story for all the viewers so that you can see how they play their game, you can understand how they play their game, and you can appreciate them just that little bit more.
Yeah, it's all about the stories, and they're all writing themselves right here as we are getting started. But as I said, unfortunately, that does things for us today. My name obviously been Tanner Metro, Naori Mizuki or Sam joining me on the desk. Thank you for being fantastic. Now, the action doesn't stop yet. We've got more coming up tomorrow and then the grand finals on Sunday. So make sure you're keeping your ears to the ground. All of that action is going to continue on the main stream. So make sure you guys are there, Nerd Street Gamers or Valorant, and it might even be broadcast across the other one. So keep your ear to the ground. Make sure you're hitting those follow buttons so you can get notified when we go live. And on behalf of myself, Sam here, the entire production crew, we want to thank you guys for being awesome, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
remaining.